It is Thursday, February 24th. I'm going to make another attempt at the Peter Adams fast trunk method number 2. It is 46 degrees outside today, over 65 in the greenhouse, so the exhaust fans have come on because I'm at that time of year where I'm struggling to keep the greenhouse cool enough so the plants don't break dormancy, but warm enough that I don't have to buy $9,000 worth of fuel oil. I've been having a problem the last few attempts at working with these Catlin elms where the branches have been splitting off the trunk where I wire them. So what I did here was I let this go on the dry side, and you can see the weeds that I use as moisture meters when I can't pluck them out have shriveled, the root ball is dried out, and the foliage has started to wilt. So what I'm going to do is comb out the roots and see if I can't use the fast trunk method with a couple little cheats. I've successfully used this on Trident maple and the Catlin elm in the past. I've yet to use it on a regular Japanese maple, which is something I'll have to look into. I got plenty of them to play with. So first things first, find your surface root. That will help you pick a front, and then we'll apply some wire. Well, what I'm going to do is make a decision about a finished height, because generally speaking you want your first branch to emanate from the trunk somewhere between 1/3 and 2/3 the finished height of your tree. So if I want a tree that is 12 inches tall, my first branch should be somewhere between 4 and 8 inches above the soil line. And I'm not sure where I'm going with this tree. Additionally, you can see the wire scarring from last year's inattention, and you can see that the root development is fairly one-sided. So I'm going to try and deal with that after I've made some decisions about the top of the tree. So if I choose, this is the front. Then I'll have to wire the tree, pick a finished height, and then start to eliminate unnecessary branches and figure out where my trunk line is going to continue and what pieces I'm going to use to do that. If I use this as the front, all that other stuff stays true, but the rooting here is not that interesting. Not sure if I can tease this around. Or if I should just be gutsy and make the tree that tall. But I'm going to try and go for something slightly bigger. I'm thinking that I want to work with this as the front, and that I want to continue the trunk line over here somewhere. So, knowing that, I'll be wiring the tree counterclockwise. I'm going to go with a fairly sturdy wire. I think this is 3mm. It's almost as thick as the trunk. To measure, you need to account for the length plus wrapping around the tree three-dimensionally. So generally speaking, we tell you to cut 1/3 more than the length that you're going to wire. Place the wire down along the base of the trunk and then spiral your way. Now fortunately, last time I wired the tree was clockwise. Now I'm wiring it counterclockwise, so I will not be reinforcing any of those furrows from my neglect last year. Straighten the trunk. Now the thing that I've noticed with elms is they tend to be two-dimensional. I've got branches going left and right, up and down, but nothing really towards the back. So if I choose this as my number one branch, then I would twist the tree and try and bring that around as a back branch. If I choose this as my number one branch, then I may tweak something back there. So the question is, do I want a tree that is that tall or a tree that is significantly taller? So if I did, this is my first branch, which would put me at 9 inches, and that's 2/3. Then I'm looking at a tree that's going to be, when it's finished, another 4.5, maybe 13 inches tall. So 9 plus another 4.5, it'd put me somewhere up here. So that's not unreasonable. I can live with that. I could also work with this as my number one branch, but that one's a little bit thicker, so I'm inclined to try that. And like I said, my big problem has been the last few attempts at this. The trees have been splitting, and I didn't know if that was because they were too moist or if it's just the nature of the beast. So going with that as my number one branch, and going to attempt to change the direction of the trunk, and it split yet again. So much for my keep them on the dry side theory. Alright, so now up here, let's eliminate what I'm not going to use. I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to use that. Could leave him as a fattener. But I don't like the fact that they're where I'm calling the front of the tree. Going to continue that as the trunk line. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Thinking maybe that becomes a back branch. Not sure. It's always an interesting process. You never know. Well, I start with an idea and then I see where it takes me. And sometimes the tree tells you things and you need to listen to the tree. Other times your tree agrees with your idea and you're good to go. Alright, so I'm going to use that existing wire. I'm also going to pull this down. And see if I can turn that into a branch. Or a back branch, we'll see. Not sure where we're going. The only thing I know is that's my number one branch and it's split, so I have to be careful come here. I'll make this my number 2 branch. I'll come back this way. And then I'm gonna really want to use that one, but I'm not sure. I think I want to go with this one, and I want to shorten him. Now this is on the wrong side of the curve, so I don't really need him. Got a potential buds in the back there. I think we're gonna go this way. Alright, so I need to do something to close that gap and change his position. I also need to guide that number 2 branch. And I'm gonna think on that one in the back there for a second. Again, this is not the time of year I want to be doing this. I would have preferred to have done this back in November, but the weather did not cooperate, and I did not have the spare time to devote to the wiring after a day of taking care of clients. You're a little tired. I just was not into it. So let's see if I can keep this from separating from the trunk completely. Alright, so support it where it's most likely to disconnect on you. And hopefully that will heal over time. So I need a back branch, got a number 1 branch, number 2 branch, back branch. We'll repeat that cycle up here. We'll see where the buds pop. As you can hear, the pilots are happy again. We had a couple days of rain. It was no fun being outside in it. Okay, so that leads me to this giant thing, and I'm gonna be either gutsy or reckless depending on your frame of mind, and I'm going to eliminate a lot of stuff below that. I ultimately really don't like this root, but keep him for the time being. Roots need some super thrive. Poor thing's been drought stressed. And I'm going to go with one of my 8-inch mum pots. At least that's what I think it's. I think that's what it is. And I'm going to secure my planting angle. Probably going to need some bamboo stakes to keep it where I want. I like a sand and peat mix because I tend to grow in very small containers and the greenhouse gets very hot and I can't be here all day to water. You grow in whatever makes you happy and works in your neighborhood. So, got my mound. Place the tree over the mound. Nestle it in. Wish that you had 3 hands or an assistant. I'm going to use the bamboo to prop it up while I work soil around the roots, in between the roots, and then I'm going to try and comb some of those little stragglers into position so that I can get a better radial root flare. So, comb those out. Got running around in circles already. Okay. So, this is the bare bones, just starting to outline the tree with Peter Adams' fast trunk method number 2 in mind. Really just snapped it again there. Really just trying to see if this can work again for me. I've done it successfully in the past, but I haven't done it in a while. This branch is nothing, and I think I will remove it. That little guy in the back becomes important. That one's potentially important. That's important. And now it's all about the aftercare. Got to make sure that I don't overwater it, underwater it, especially since I just drought stressed it and took a tremendous amount of roots off it. I'm leaving this branch super long. More leaf loaded carries. I think the better the healing process will be there. This is a backup branch in case something happens to that one. So that's it. We've set the outline. Now it'll take a few more years to bulk up the trunk, create my pads and my ramification, and then have a decent looking tree. So this is where I'm supposed to say like, subscribe, questions, comments, requests, etc. You know what to do. In the meantime, go work on your trees.